Hello and welcome. My name is Daniel Akirele, and good day wherever you're watching from. Today, I'll be speaking to you on how graduate school admission works, especially for those who are looking for international scholarships. And if you watch my last video, I was able to expound generally on how to get started for people who are looking for graduate school admission. But today I'll be diving into specific, conversation on how it works generally. If you want to increase your chances of getting scholarships, I'll be giving you the exact tips on how it works. And here, this is where you hear the truth. I don't beat around the bush. I tell you exactly the way it is. And yeah, so I don't like wasting time. So let's get started to the conversation. So if you want to know how to get started, you want to watch my last video, and it's really help you to, flow into what we're going to discuss today. So generally, how does graduate school scholarships work? How do you get funding? How do people who get funding do it? And what have you been doing wrongly? And yeah, generally that's what I'm talking about today. And let me start with how it works. So there's no difference, maybe much difference between graduate school application and the way it works in the corporate world, maybe in the job market. So it's basically the same thing. It's the same hiring process. Myself, let me put myself as a professor, assuming I'm a professor. What am I looking for? The way it works is like this. Let's assume I'm a professor, and I will apply for funding to maybe World Organization or any international body that funds, research. Then if my application is granted, for example, maybe I apply to WHO, that's the World Health Organization, and maybe to fund a research in some kind of, let's say, some laboratory test on maybe some kind of infection, for example. And in my budget, I will have budgeted that I'm going to be hiring maybe two students to work with me in my laboratory. So what I'm looking for is students who are qualified to actually work with me. So let's assume that in my laboratory, there are some specialized equipment that I need to do to carry out the lab. And before I go into that, the way it works is like, once the research funding has been granted to me, I have a budget and a timeline. So perhaps maybe the research, I need to submit a report within 1 year. And so I have a timeline. So even from hiring to the delivery, I have a specific budget. So I need students. So the way it works is, you don't want to hire a random person who you're gonna start training and maybe doesn't understand what you're doing, and it's going to be giving you a lot of headache, and you are not going to actually be able to deliver the report at the end of 1 year. So you want to hire students that are actually qualified. So what kind of students will I be looking for as a professor? Maybe students that have specific knowledge about the kind of work I do in my laboratory, or someone that has done previous research in the kind of things I do, or someone that has good knowledge of how to use the laboratory equipment that I'm using in the laboratory. So those are the kind of students I'll be looking out for. So if you want to apply to that kind of laboratory or that kind of research, what I'm going to do is, you have to make sure that you have your past experience aligns with what I'm doing. That's what I'll be looking out for. Maybe, like I said earlier, you can use the kind of equipment that I use in my laboratory very well without supervision. I don't have to spend time, training you and doing all sort of that. You can get on the job and make immediate impact. And maybe you have published similar work and you can really help me in kind of the paperwork, kind of publication. So I might be looking out for two students, maybe one that is good with the actual laboratory work and the other one that is good in actual writing the paper and the report. That will really ease my burden and give me time to look for other, funding for other kind of research. So while you students are working on the project, I can spend ample time in doing other stuff that will fund me for subsequent years. So it's the same thing with the corporate world. So what most students do is to just apply randomly, which doesn't work. You want to be specific and do the hard work and actually searching for the scholarships or the schools that aligns with your kind of background. So it's just like someone who studied biology and is applying submit application to a company that needs a software engineer. You're not a software engineer. They're not going to look at your CV twice. So that's the way it works. So if you need to be strategic, like I always say, in your application, you want to look for professor that is doing something that aligns with your background. Perhaps you have work experience in the kind of research that the professor is doing, or you have strong data analytics skills that can really benefit the kind of research the professor is doing, or you have published a lot of work that aligns with the kind of work the professor is doing, or you can use laboratory tools that the professor is doing. These are the things you need to emphasize in your maybe cold emails or statement of purpose that will, or put in your resume that will attract the professor in wanting to hire you. If the professor doesn't see these things in your application, or just throw your CV away. So it's the same thing in the corporate world. If you're applying for a job that you're not best fit for, they are not going to look at your CV twice and they're not going to invite you for an interview. So if you actually do your homework and you find the perfect job for your background, for your experience, and for your resume, they will hire you. They will want to talk to you, invite you to know more about you. So the same thing with the professor on the academic world. Once your CV is enticing, this is an asset, and can actually help me in my research, the professor will want to meet with you, ask further questions to see how you can, when best you can join the program, what are your specific goals, end goals, and all those kind of questions. So that's the general idea of how it works. So most students just let me say lazy. They just throw out applications here and there without actually doing their homework to actually look at what does the department need, what does the professor in the department, what kind of research are they doing, what kind of research is the professor or what kind of the research is the professor working on, to actually know if they fit in. So everybody have some specific skill set and specific area that they are best fit for. You just need to find who needs that specific skill. The same thing with jobs. Everybody have some skill set. You might be an introvert, and there are some specific jobs that will pay you a lot of money for being an introvert. So you just have to do your homework and look for that opportunity. So that's the same way it works in the academic world. So next time you want to submit your application or whatever, you don't want to just throw out application here and there, submit to 20 schools and all of them are rejecting you. No, because you didn't do your homework well. What you want to do is do a self-appraisal, like I mentioned in my last video. What are my skills and how do they benefit this program applying to? How do they benefit this professor? And that's what you want to emphasize in your application. So when looking for schools or looking for professors to talk to, you must do your homework. Go to their website. Most of them are on LinkedIn. Most of them are on Twitter, now X they call it. And most of them have personal websites or on the school website. Look at it, click on it, and read about their work. Look at the papers they have published. Look at the people they partner with and all that. Then you can even email them to ask specific questions about their research that you're interested and you want to know if you fit in, and they will be willing to talk to you. So yeah, that's the way it works. So in my subsequent video, I'll be talking about how to send cold emails, what should be the contents of your cold email, what is the best time to actually send it. Sometimes you might send your email at the wrong time, and though it is well written and you're qualified, but the timing is wrong, and it might end up in not being read, or they might not get back to you. So, or they might read it in a very wrong time when they have already hired other students, and that will not help you. So yeah, these are things I'll be talking about in my subsequent video. I'll also be addressing other topics, because I don't like making long videos that and giving you too much information that you might not be able to grasp them. So with this, I believe you will do better in your school search and your graduate school application. And if you have not watched my last video on how to get started, you should do that and watch it. And if you think this video will benefit somebody that you know, or someone that you love, you can please share with them, like and comment. I love reviews, I love feedbacks. It really makes me feel happy. So thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day or wherever you're watching from. I wish you success in your endeavors. Yeah, bye, and see you later.